Her talk.
This meeting is being recorded.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Peggy
salam.
Muhammad here. Okay. Peggy Muhammad here, and welcome to Muhammad's Mosque number 48. Live right, think right, eat right, do right. Today's presentation is once again uh, being brought to you by the Health and Human Services of Mosque number 48. And I have three things I need to do. Number one, I need to correct a mistake. And number two, I need to make a clarification. And number three, we're going to talk to our lovely guest, Sister Erica 2X. So this is what I needed to tell you. When I was talking about the fortification of milk with vitamin D, I inadvertently said that it started in Europe, that the Europeans gave us that idea. But that's not true. I don't know why I did that because I knew it wasn't true. But I'm going to read you the correction. You know, we're not supposed to have any mistakes. Mistakes must not exist. So in order for me to have this not exist, I have to correct it. So what I'm going to do is read this, okay? Vitamin D fortified milk. You probably know your milk has vitamin D in it, but you might not know why. In the 1930s, the United States began to fortify milk with vitamin D in an effort to eradicate rickets. The disease, the disease caused by vitamin D deficiency that softens and weakens the bones was rampant at the time among poor children, particularly in the northern U.S. cities. So in the early 1920s, E.V. McCollum, one of the first faculty members at what would become the Johns Hopkins Blumberg School of Public Health, had discovered vitamin D and determined that rickets could be prevented with cod liver oil or sunshine. When the fortification effort began a decade later, milk was chosen as the vehicle because it was widely available, palatable to young children, and rich in other bone beneficial nutrients such as calcium. While drinking today's milk will keep your body rich in vitamin D, you can also increase your levels of this vitamin by eating select foods. But first, try to get it from the sun. So that includes eggs, salmon, and tuna. But in the nation, we don't do tuna. And through, of course, it says sun exposure. So I corrected that. And then I just have a clarification. I was saying to you that when it comes to raw foods, we only do raw fruit. We only do fruit that's raw. We only eat fruit in its raw stage. But I want to let you know that we also eat salad. We can eat salad in its raw state, okay? But we can eat salad before our meal, whatever kind of salad you want. But be sure that you don't make salad a full meal. So some people go on a diet and they just eat salad. Well, that may not be a good idea. So I made that clarification. And so now, beginning really part two, how to eat to live, the basics. And our guest today is Sister Erica 2X. And I'll tell you why she's here. You know, I only help you navigate the narrative of how to eat to live. I don't tell you what you should eat. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad already told you what you're supposed to eat. So I can talk about how to eat to live all day long, but you may not quite understand it unless you hear a witness bearer say exactly what happened to them when they when they read How to Eat to Live and then started practicing how to eat to live. So today's presenter, Sister Erica 2X, is going to tell you about her journey with How to Eat to Live. Now, we were in MGT class and we were about in the middle of the class, I believe. We're about to leave, and sister said that she had a story to tell about how to eat to live. And I heard her story and I was absolutely inspired by it. And so I want her to tell you her story. So once again, assalamu alaikum, Sister Erica.
Walaikum salam, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for having me on today. When you asked me to share my story on your platform, I was overwhelmed with joy and excitement because, unlike, like you said, you can only tell a person so many times how to, eat or what not to eat or what to eat. But if they don't actually hear someone's story, for example, my story, and so going into my story, before I came into the nation, I was battling with diabetes. And how I found out I was a diabetic, one weekend I was at home and I wasn't feeling well. And I told my husband, I said, I don't feel too good. I said, I'm going to wait till tomorrow and I'll go, if I don't feel any better, I'll go, to the doctor. Well, wasn't feeling well. I was doing a lot of sleeping. I couldn't get enough to drink. It was like I couldn't just, it was so much that was coming on me. And so I went to one of those Care Now units. And the doctor told me there, oh, you just have a little stomach virus. Make sure you drink plenty of Gatorade, Powerade. And so I said, okay. So that was on the weekend. Then that Monday, I still wasn't feeling well. Tuesday, I still wasn't feeling well. Tried to go to work on Wednesday. I just could not keep my head up off my desk. And so finally, I told my manager, I said, I have to go to the doctor. I do not feel well at all. So I worked downtown Dallas and I rode the train probably about a mile down where my doctor's office was. And I went in and she said, Erica, what is going on? And I said, I have no idea. I said, but something is not right. And I said, I couldn't see, we have a 75-inch TV and I couldn't see the letters and the people on it. So I knew something was affecting me because it was affecting my sight. Walked in her office. She said, okay, let me check your blood sugar. So I said, okay. She said, Erica, your blood sugar is 641. How did you get here? I said, I rode the train down here. She said, no, ma'am. She said, do you not understand that you should be in a diabetic coma somewhere? And I said, okay, well, what do we need to do? She said, well, you can't go back to work. That's for sure. So they immediately started me on, the insulin, the pills, and I was having to take them 3 times a day. Before a meal, after a meal, I'm having to give myself shots. Fast forward, started listening to Minister Louis Farrakhan, came into the nation, and I started reading How to Eat to Live. This past February was my first Ramadan. And I can honestly sit here and tell you today, the month of February, I did not take one diabetic medicine. I did not take one shot. I started doing one meal a day, and I feel amazing today. I came and I have to be honest, I came in the nation and I don't mind sharing this. I came in the nation weighing 250 pounds and I'm down to 185 now. All because I did How to Eat to Live and I'm following the one meal a day. All praises be to Allah because I don't know where I would be had I not came into the nation and started eating one meal a day.
So, sister, you lost 65 pounds.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me how long it was that you stopped taking your medicines
Back in
after you
February.
start? Okay, so
In
that was
February.
February. When
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
start the diet of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I started then, back in February. Yes, ma'am.
So you started in February.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So how long did it take you for your blood sugars to go down and stay down?
It took probably about 3 or 4 months because I was persistent on it and taking all of that medicine, it just made me feel so bad. I mean, I would be so sick from taking the medicine that's supposed to help me, but I would feel so sick. And then, like I said, the month of February when we did the Ramadan, I didn't feel bad at all. I had energy. I was, I felt great and I stayed on it. And I've been on it ever since.
So tell me, what exactly did you do? How did you approach this? What were your thoughts? Since this is Think Right, since this is
Right.
Living Right,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to know what you were thinking.
I
And
was thinking that if I didn't change my eating habits, that if I didn't change my thinking first and
mhm,
foremost, my
mhm.
thinking and my living right and my doing right, I wasn't going to be here any longer. I wasn't going to be able to see my grandchildren grow up. I wasn't going to be able to see them go through school, have children. But since I changed my thinking, I changed my living, and I changed my eating habits, I'm here, I'm healthy, and I feel great.
Can you give us an example of what you would eat in a day?
So now I eat. I learned how to make bean soup, so I'm so super excited about that. So we would probably, of course, we would have bean soup with our dinner, and then some days we would have, some chicken, and then some days we would have fish, salad, you know, not too much because before we came into this, yes, we were eating the pork chops, the links, all of that. And then, like I said, once we came into the nation, we changed our eating habits major.
Okay. So when you came in the nation, you started in February. No, it
Yes,
took you 3 to 4 months.
yes, ma'am.
Tell me about your next doctor visit.
My next doctor visit was in May. And when I went to the doctor, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you something else, Sister Peggy. I went to my eye doctor, and my
Mhm.
eye doctor said, "Okay, what have you been doing? Because your eyes have improved. They're not as bad as they were." And I said, "I changed my eating habits and I changed my thinking and my way of life." And so when I went to my next doctor's appointment, she was so excited and she was so happy. She's jumping up and down. "Erica, what have you been doing? You look amazing." And I said, "Thank you." And I told her, I said, "I have to be honest with you because she's like family to me." And I told her, I said, "I joined the nation and I started eating one meal a day." I said, "And I'm going to be honest with you. I stopped taking that medicine you was giving me. And here I am today, 65 pounds lighter."
And so she was amazed, right?
She was. She
And
was.
what,
She, as a matter of fact, she was mind blowing. She was like, "Can you come and tell these other people how to do this?" I said, "Sure, I don't mind." Yes,
that's
ma'am.
amazing.
She was like in awe. She just kind of stood there and just looked at me, and she was like, "Oh my God, you look so good." She said, "Whatever you're doing, keep up the work." She said, "Because it's working for you." I said, "Yes,
So,
ma'am." I said, "When you diagnosed me with being a diabetic, I told you I was not taking that medicine forever. I was not. And I was determined not to continue to take that medicine."
okay, sister, so this is what I have to say. Number one, I'm glad, remember, okay, when I talked about diabetes
Yes, ma'am.
in one of the videos, I brought up the idea that I know a man that twice he thought he had the flu,
Hmm.
or he talked himself into the fact that he had the flu.
Right.
And then he had to call, his family had to call the EMS, and he
Hmm.
almost died.
Hmm.
So the doctor that first sent you to the emergency room thought you had some kind type of respiratory problem.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm really surprised.
Mhm.
I mean, so you went in and you talked about, he or she didn't even ask you any questions or anything?
No, no. All that doctor told me, it was like one of those little care now facilities.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all
Okay.
and all she told me was I had a stomach virus. I had the stomach flu. And to go home and make sure I drink plenty of, Gatorade, Powerades. And we went and stocked up on all this stuff. And lo and behold, that was shooting my sugar up higher than, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
So when I went to the doctor, she told me when I walked in there that day, it was 641.
so you got a blood sugar test. Okay, so she looked at you. Did she
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
you any questions?
Yes, she was like, What's?" She asked me what was going on, and I said, I just don't feel well. I just feel really sluggish. I can't, everything is blurry to me. And she said, "Can I check your blood sugar?" And I was like, "Sure." I knew it was probably a possibility because, it was it during the generation coming down from, passed from generation. My mom had it, my uncles had it, and so I kind of figured, that might have been what it was, but I wasn't for sure. And so she said, "Okay." She said, "Yeah, we gonna have to we have to start right now. You have to give you some insulin." And so I was like, "Okay," not knowing what I know now, in learning the teachings and, reading the How to Eat to Live book, I don't take any of that anymore. No medicines.
So from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So over the next 10 months, by the time that February came in, you were
Yes.
free of your medicines.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So sounds like she was friendly to the way you did this.
She was. She really was.
Now, you don't
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
tell me her name here, but
Okay.
maybe she'll be a name of someone that we can have on our list
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
and we can send people to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my
Yes, ma'am.
gosh, how
Yes,
wonderful.
ma'am. Hmm.
Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I have a story too, because now, sister, it took you 10 months. That's amazing. And in How to Eat to Live, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that that can happen if it's not too late.
Right.
And
Right.
if you remain strict to the
Yes.
diet.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's exactly what you did and what you're
That's
doing now.
exactly what I've been doing. Yes, ma'am. One meal a
Now,
day.
now I'm a nurse and I used to work on the cardiology unit, and it was very stressful. And
Hmm.
what one thing nurses don't eat as we should, no matter what we know.
Right.
We don't eat as we should, and we do a lot of what people call grazing. And I was grazing, and every time you eat, it causes your blood sugar to go up. And of course, I
Right. Yes.
wasn't grazing on the right things. So at the age of 50, mid 50s, going into the 60s, the doctor told me I had diabetes.
Hmm.
And then he told me I had high blood pressure, which I never had.
Right.
So usually that when you're diagnosed with diabetes, you probably get high blood pressure.
Right.
But there were some other things that was in my medical history
Hmm.
that put me at risk for all of that. Number one, in my family, this is how my mother was a diabetic. She's deceased now, but that's not what took her out. She was a diabetic.
Right.
Her mother and her father were diabetics.
Right.
My father was not a diabetic,
Hmm.
and neither were his parents. And I am one of four.
Okay.
So two of us were like my mother, and two of us were not. Two of us were like my father, so much so they could eat and drink just about anything they want. And they're in their 60s and they don't have diabetes.
Hmm.
I don't understand it.
Right.
So the only thing is I can see is that they were like my father's family.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
My mother, now two of us, which included me, it was my brother and me, we developed diabetes and we were able to push it back to reverse it.
Yes.
But it took me a while and I didn't get to really start doing that until I left San Antonio after I
Hmm.
retired, came here, not back here, but moved here with my father. I was taking care of him after my sister had been taking care of him in San Antonio for 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when I retired, I said, we are going to move to Dallas. So she actually had lived in Plano. And so we moved to Dallas and we all lived together in this nice big house. And I was taking care of my father. And that's when I got serious.
Okay.
That's when I got serious. And so the next time, once I got serious, I went to the doctor and I was really surprised because I wasn't doing my blood sugars or anything. They said I didn't have to, so I didn't. And he said, okay, you're doing very well in this area, so I'm going to take you off your medicine. And that was
Yes.
metformin. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was only on it once a day, and I took it in the evening. But that once I do that, it's just the blood pressure that's kind of difficult to get rid of, and
Right.
I know why. So,
Mm-hmm.
sister, you have an amazing story.
Thank you.
That is really amazing. If
Yes,
someone
ma'am.
doesn't
Thank
can't
you.
believe that, tell me so you were eating navy beans while you were doing your one meal a day. You always did
Yes,
navy beans?
no, as a matter of fact, I just started. We would get like some soup from probably Sister Carolyn. She would make us some, or Sister Tammy would make us some. But then Sister Carolyn taught me how to make it, and so now I've been making it.
And it
And so
doesn't
now,
affect do you still
no,
test your blood sugar?
every now and then I may test it. But
Does being on the beans cause your blood sugar to go up?
no, ma'am.
Wonderful. How much, may I ask how much you eat of the beans?
I eat like we normally eat them like maybe 3 times out of the week.
Okay, that works for
Hmm.
you. Good,
Yes, ma'am. Hmm.
And and what other foods would you eat? Would do you eat rice?
Yes, so we got some rice from the like the staple goods that we did. This was our first year ordering, so we did the rice, the navy beans, and the small red beans.
So you
So
eat, do you eat one meal a day?
yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am, one
Uh,
meal a day.
So
Okay.
yeah. So
We
sister,
do
this
everything
is an
good.
amazing story.
Thank you,
And
thank
so
you.
I'm going to be talking to you to get that physician's name so that we
Okay.
can send people who may want to try what you did,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that they would have a friend in the physician that would
Yes,
allow them
yes,
to
ma'am.
do that.
Yes,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't have to continue this, but I want you to, is there anything you want to tell the audience?
Yes, I would love to share with them also. So even when like I said, when we came in, we started with the one, the fasting one weekend a month. When I first started, I was kind of hesitant. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is going to kind of send my sugar levels out of the whack." Of course, I'm still in my head, you know.
Mhm.
But as we've gone on these few months, I do our last meal be on Thursday and I don't eat again until Sunday. So I follow the fast as well.
Very
And I
good.
like I said, I'm loving this journey that I'm on right now. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing. I mean, I would petition anyone if you are dealing with diabetes, high blood pressure, even if you feel like you're a little overweight. Read the book How to Eat to Live. Follow the one meal a day. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
How long did it take for you to lose that weight? 65 pounds.
It took me, I started losing it in February. Like I said, when we did the Ramadan, when we
Hmm.
started the Ramadan, I started losing it then. I,
Wow,
Sister Peggy,
God.
I was determined to lose that weight. Like I'm telling you, when I came in, I was 250 pounds.
So, as part of the Think Right, you were motivated,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Definitely
extremely
motivated.
motivated.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I was determined
So
to
that was
lose
your
the
inner
weight.
voice.
Yes, yes, ma'am, definitely. And
And
I'm
your
happy
outer
with
voice.
the results. Yes,
And then
ma'am.
your outer voice is how to eat to live, the practice.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Continue to talk. If you have anything else you want to say.
I think that's it. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what I want to say is, as we leave, I want to say that it's about reading the book, studying the book,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
practice.
And practicing the
Read,
book.
study, practice.
Yes. Read, study, and practice.
And so I'm going to say, oh, got to put on my glasses. Okay. Was it live right, think right, eat right, do right? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.
Okay, so